Hey guys, it is Sunday night, and as predicted, I already have an update because I finished half Off Ragnarok by Seanan McGuire, the third book in the Encrypted series. This is a series about cryptozoologist family. They study monsters and also kill them if need be. And the first two books we followed Verity Price, and now this book we actually switched narrators over to her older brother Alex, who is studying in Ohio in he's a reptile specialist, whether that's like the normal reptiles that we know or like the more exotic cryptid reptiles. And so as I said in my last reading vlog, I did struggle with the first little bit of this book because part of it was just because like I was missing old characters because I've never read a series where like it switched narrators in the middle that wasn't a romance series. And that's just a little bit different than like a regular series. And so I was kind of missing the old characters, and I'm like, that's not really the fault of this book though. But I did have a little bit of a harder time with uh, connecting with Alex. And so, but around page 90, 100, somewhere around there, it kind of shifted. I feel a lot better about him as a character. He was in that place where he really liked his girlfriend, and he thought she was, he thought, oh, she's super normal. Like, I can't tell her what I'm doing. I'm having to lie. She's going to break up with me eventually because, like, there's no other way for this to go. And then, like, he quit whining, essentially, and he became a slightly different character. And I really, really appreciated that. I liked the story. I did accidentally, as also noted in my other vlog, I accidentally spoiled myself for this because in this particular book, he works at a zoo. Alex works at a zoo, and people are turning up dead and like partially turned to stone, which puts it in his wheelhouse. And so he was trying to figure out who was doing it, and like I accidentally saw who was doing it, and no reasons as to why or any of that kind of stuff. And so it was really interesting to find out like a little bit of the backstory and how this came to be and why and wherefore and all that kind of really fun stuff. And I really did enjoy it. It flew. I love Alex's grandparents, Angela and I don't remember. I'm blanking on his grandfather's name, but they are super cool and I really, really like them. I thought Sarah in this one, she's his cousin, and she is like a little bit, she's gone a little bit mad, and even her like nonsense was really fun. So I still don't like Alex isn't my favorite character at this point, but I'm enjoying the characters as a whole. I liked the story. I liked the twists and the plot and why was this happening and all that kind of stuff. Pacing was fantastic, like normal. I never really have a problem with pacing. I just kind of race to the end with Seanan McGuire's books. I really like getting a look at this kind of world building because this is one of the things that Seanan McGuire is really good at is world building. So we're kind of learning more and more about this cryptid world, and it's really cool. So yes, really enjoyed it. Probably 4.25 stars. Liked it better than the second one, but not as good as the first one. There you go. And then, so next up, I am picking up the book Keeping It Real by Justina Robson, the first book in the Quantum Gravity series. This is like there was a quantum bomb, it went off, it like tore a hole through the different, like the fabric, keeping the different dimensions separate. And now we've got like elves and demons and all kinds of craziness. Lila Black, who is our main character, is a cyborg, and I don't know if she's a mercenary, but at this moment she is actually protecting an elven rock star. That is all I know from the back. That is all it says. So I picked this up at a library book sale, and I picked it up specifically because it looked like it would be really a mess, honestly, a bit of a train wreck, but I thought it looked like it could be a really fun train wreck where you enjoy the ride. So I'm not really sure, but because like half the times when you have a train wreck, it's a really bad train wreck. So I don't know which one it's going to be. We will see. But either way, I should have an update for you pretty soon because it's really not that long of a book. Either I'm going to DNF it or I'm going to fly through. Either way, I should be updating you pretty soon. Until next time, bye. Hey guys, it is Monday night and I have another update. I am DNFing it because it is terrible. So it was such an interesting concept, and I am a little bit sad that it didn't work out, but it was just a wreck. It was so bad. It's the writing style itself is really, really difficult to read. It is trying to be flowery, but doesn't actually succeed in like it's flowery, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not good. And then all of a sudden, like you'll be in the middle of this really flowery paragraph, and then it has like a really short, very utilitarian kind of sentence, and it's like, well, that was jarring. And like I'm having to read like a sentence multiple times just to understand it. Oh my gosh, the writing was terrible. The main character is just not somebody I could get next to. She's an android. She's supposed to be kick-ass. She just isn't. Like, she is trying to project that, and she's like turns into that blushing schoolgirl as soon as she meets the handsome elf kind of person. And the other part of it is I did read some reviews afterwards, and people were saying it's a romance in disguise. And based off of the setup, I would say it's not even that good of a disguise. It is right there front and center. If she does not hook up with this elf, I would be really surprised. And so there's that. But then the biggest problem I had came, I DNF'd at page 55, and right around page 50-ish, she was paralyzed, and this elf was like doing some kind of spell or something to help her be not paralyzed. And he basically was just like, hey, don't get mad. I have to do this for the spell, but I'm also going to enjoy groping you. And I was just like, that was the point where I was like, no, like I wasn't enjoying this anyway. And that was just one step over the line. We're not playing that game. So I am putting it down, and it's going to immediately leave my house. So instead, I am actually going to pick up Perfect Lies by Kiersten White. It is the second book in the Mind Games series. In the first book, we followed the sisters of Fia and Annie finding out their history and these special powers, I guess you could say, that they have, and how they've been exploited by the school that they are at. And now we are moving into the second book, which is really let's escape. Annie has essentially escaped, but Fia has not, and they're trying to figure out how to get not just themselves out, but everybody out. And that is the entirety of this story, all 250-ish pages of it. But I am very excited. I really, really liked the first one. I thought it was a very interesting writing style. I really liked the main character of Fia, and I'm expecting that I will like this one too, and should have another update for you very shortly, because again, it's 250 pages of something that I'm probably going to like. So I will see you guys again very shortly. Bye. Hey guys, it is Wednesday afternoon and I have an update. I finished Perfect Lies by Kiersten White, the second book in the Mind Games series. This book I actually finished last night after basically reading it in one sitting. It was really good and I really liked it and I was really invested in it and I wanted to finish it. So I did. And it was so good, you guys. It was such a nice conclusion. I love the story. I love Fia. Annie was so much better. I didn't love Annie in the first book, but she is so much better in this one. And I liked that we kept, so the author still kept the switching perspectives. So we did get Fia and Annie's perspectives, and they are on slightly different timelines that end up converging at the end. And I thought it was very nicely done. This is, I should say, this is an excellent example of an unreliable narrator. I never felt like I was being straight up lied to or jerked around. It was really, really well done. And I loved this book. I am so glad that I read this series, that I finally like finished it up. And because it's one of the best books that I've read this year. So thoroughly enjoyed that. And I have already picked up my next book and started reading it, and that is 3 Days to Dead by Kelly Medding. This is the first book in the Dreg City series. This is a series that is about Evie Stone. She wakes up in the morgue. She was dead. She finds out that her mercenary buddies were killed, and she's being everybody thinks that she's a traitor. Obviously, she was killed, and she has 3 days to figure out the mystery, like solve the mystery. I love that premise, and I was really excited to read it. I'm enjoying it so far. The reading is, it's, you know, reading it, it's really easy. I'm enjoying Evie as a character so far. I have a couple questions that haven't been answered yet, but I assume they'll get answered pretty soon, and then I'll be just fine. I did think it was interesting. This is not really, it's sort of a zombie novel, but not. Anyway, Evie does not wake up in her own body. She actually wakes up in somebody else's. So it's more of a resurrection magic kind of thing than like straight up zombie horror, which I just thought interesting fact. But I am enjoying it. I'm sure that I will just tear through it, and you should have another update from me very soon. So until then, bye. Hey guys, it is Friday afternoon, and I have an update for you. I am DNFing 3 Days to Dead by Kelly Medding, the first book in the Dreg City series. I made it all the way to page 118 before I decided I could not do it anymore. There were a couple problems, and none of them were huge problems, but added all together, I wasn't enjoying it. The first problem was that there was, like, the main character of Evie Stone has been resurrected. She's not in her own body. It's like her soul in a different body, right? Well, so she would say things like, you know, she got into a fight almost immediately, and then like she was super clumsy because her new body didn't have the muscle memory for fighting. Okay, totally fine. Fast forward 50 pages, and all of a sudden she's like a rock star at fighting, even though in book only 20 hours have passed. It was like, no, either this body doesn't have muscle memory, or like you can fight. Super inconsistent. And that kind of stuff kind of came up a couple times with like, it was almost like there was a nod made that she would feel very strange in a body that wasn't her own, but also like it didn't come up when I would have thought it would, because when you're in a body that's very different than what you're used to, weird stuff just happens, and like nothing was addressed like that. So that was very frustrating. The romance was super frustrating because it's like, from what we know, like she's gonna be dead. So there shouldn't be any romance, realistically. 3 days, like she has no time to spend on any romance. And this dude's just like, I'm in love with you. And she's like, well, I wasn't in love with you. I was not in love with you before I died. And he's like, but how about now? And it's like, dude, she died. She was resurrected. She has 3 days to solve her murder, and then she's going to be dead again. Not the time or the place for this conversation. You are being incredibly selfish by putting this on her when she has literally 3 days to figure out her murder. Like, keep it to yourself. And so I was really frustrated. And then the world building was interesting. What I could make out of it was very interesting. It was just explained kind of badly. So I was left with a lot of questions, and I was just like, I kind of just glossed over it and assumed that it was basically like every other urban fantasy, which is not really what you want to do with the novel. And then the last thing is just that because I know that this is a series, I know that she's going to be alive at the end. So this 3-day time limit has no urgency to it because, like, she's going to live. I know she's going to live. So I don't care. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like any of those things individually would have been fine and I could have dealt with it and been okay. But, like, add it all up, I was just like, it's just not quite good enough to continue devoting my time to. So instead, I am going to pick up The Traitor in the Tunnel by Y.S. Lee. It is the third book in the Agency series. I also sometimes refer to it as the Mary Quinn series, except that's not what it's called. It's the Agency series, but it does follow our main character of Mary Quinn, who is a woman in England in the Victorian era, and she is part of an all-female spy agency that runs off of the idea that women are often ignored and underestimated, and that makes them the best spies. And so in this third book, Mary Quinn is placed in Buckingham Palace to try to catch a thief. And I'm very, very excited. I have been really enjoying these books. They are so much fun. And so yeah, I'm really liking it. It will probably go very fast because yet again, it is another quick, fun read. And so I should have an update for you pretty soon. Until then, bye. Hey guys, it is Saturday night, so it is time for my end of the week update. And I finished A Traitor in the Tunnel by Y.S. Lee, which I am not surprised because I have been enjoying these books so much and they're such fast reads. And it was so good. And I mean, like, I was having trouble sleeping last night anyway, so it's like might as well just read it, and I finished it, and it was very, very good. The primary plot was basically that there was, this thief at Buckingham Palace, and Mary Quinn was supposed to kind of try to figure out who was doing it. That was supposed to be the primary story. We did not spend much time on that storyline. It was mostly the drama of the romance angle and her family stuff, which is not bad. It was still really, really good. It's just like that mystery part wasn't quite as strong as the previous two books had been. And that was a little bit sad, but I was really okay to focus on romance and the family and all this kind of stuff. It was stuff that kind of needed to be wrapped up a little bit. And so I'm glad that we did. And I am very, very excited to read book 4. And now I have picked up The Wicked and the Divine by Kieron Gillen. This is actually one of the big books. It collects 2 volumes or 11 issues. The first volume being the Faust Act. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm finding now that I'm on YouTube and I actually have to say things out loud that I don't really know how to pronounce stuff. Reader problems. Anyway, volume 1, the Faust Act, and volume 2, Fandemonium. And in this series, it's an alternate Earth where every 90 years, 12 gods are reincarnated, and they are like the ultimate pop stars, and then they're dead in 2 years. And that's the premise. And I've actually read like 4 volumes of this already, but it was a long time ago, number 1. And number 2, I think when I read it the first time, I wasn't quite catching enough of the story to really be comfortable and understand all that was going on. And so I'm going to reread it partially, again, because it was so long ago, but also because I want to see if I can catch more of the story this time around so that I can enjoy it a little bit more. I've already read the first issue, and it was really good. I liked it. It didn't take that long, so even though that book is 11 issues, I'm expecting that you will have another update from me pretty soon. But that's all I got for this update, so I hope you guys are having happy reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!